let's try some treats and talk about some food-related manga. So I was really excited recently when Treats reached out to me asking if I would like to have a box of snacks from around the world sent to me so that I can try them out and talk about them on my channel. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I love food. And I don't talk about that a lot on the channel, but I absolutely love food. My wife and I, a lot of the traveling that we do is... a lot of it is interest in the food of the different cultures or different places around the country and stuff, and we love trying new restaurants and different types of cuisine wherever we go. It's one of our favorite things to do is just try different foods, even here in home, trying new restaurants all the time. And one of my favorite things is going to international stores that sell snacks from around the world and trying out all the stuff that looks good to me, because I love food, I love snacks, I love sweets. So I was really excited to get this opportunity to try out the Treats kind of snack box service that they have, and I thought what better way to integrate this into my channel than to talk about some food-related manga while I try these snacks on a video. So let's go ahead and open up the box and see what they've got for us. Now, this is a service where every month they offer snacks from a different country. So today we've got snacks from Peru. So we have a little kind of postcard in here, and it shows an image of Machu Picchu on one side, and on the other side it talks about the cuisine and Peru and stuff, and what you might expect from the box of snacks that they've sent to you. So that's really awesome, and Peru's great. South America, my family's from South America, so I'm expecting that some of the flavors and stuff that I have in some of these snacks are going to be familiar to me, to some of the things that I've eaten from my family. We also have another card here that has some facts about Peru, some interesting information. Did you know? And then several different bullet points. So that's cool. They not only send you food, but they send you information about the place that you're getting the food from. And on the other side, they even have a recipe. It's a recipe card for lomo saltado, which is beef stir-fry Peruvian style. So that's really awesome. I'll have to put that aside and see if we can't try that out at some point in the future. And they also have this card here where you have information, which is fantastic, about every single piece that's in the box. So that's great, especially if the snacks are from a country where you cannot read or understand the labels and stuff, because this gives you a great idea of everything that is in the box and what you're eating, which is especially great in case you have any allergies and stuff. You don't want to accidentally eat something you shouldn't. And then on the other side, you can rank all the things and say what's the best, worst, and weirdest. So according to your palate, what you enjoyed the most and what you enjoyed the least. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and I'm really excited to try them out. So let's grab, I'm just going to grab off of the top. We have the margarita, and these are some cookies. This is what they look like. So on the list here, Margarita Galletas by Sayon, and these are traditional Peruvian cookies. So it sounds like a good one to start off with, something, you know, traditional. It's kind of baseline, just a cookie. It's probably going to have kind of a buttery flavor. So let me go ahead and bust into them and try one out. So the card says that they're named after a flower, and they do have a floral design on the front there. And go ahead and try it out. So it's a nice, light, buttery, kind of sweet flavor. That's a good cookie. That's a good plain old cookie. Not going to say no to that one. So when you think about food manga, I feel like the first one that comes to a lot of people's minds, especially now, is going to be Food Wars. Now, Food Wars is a Shonen Jump title. It was in the Shonen Jump magazine for years. Ran for a total of 36 volumes or 37 volumes. Recently wrapped up just a year or so ago. We got the last volume in the US. And this was actually my first just strictly food-related manga that I ever followed. I jumped into it when the manga in the US was somewhere around 20 volumes. And I very quickly just became enamored with the characters and the setting. And I loved seeing these characters cooking and all this stuff. It's basically a cooking competition show, but in manga form. And so not only do you have the cooking competition between the characters, but as it is an ongoing manga series, you have a lot of the drama that unfolds, and you get a lot of the school politics and stuff behind the school that all of the characters are enrolled in. Now we follow the main character of Soma, who's grown up in the kitchen of his family's restaurant, and so he's taken a lot of what he's learned from working in this family restaurant, and he uses that in his cuisine that he cooks at the school. And so while a lot of others have been trained in classical culinary arts and stuff, he's trained very differently, but he still, as this kind of underdog, shows that he's capable of keeping up with everyone around him. And I think it's a really great story with a lot of great characters. And one of my favorite things about this series is that since it is based in reality, all of the dishes that are prepared are made with actual ingredients and are actual dishes that you can make at home. And with that, they actually include recipes and stuff after the chapters so that you can see if how these things are made, and you can actually try to make these dishes yourself. Or a lot of the dishes. I don't know if they have every single dish that's made in there, but you can try a lot of these yourself at home, which I really love about this series. If you haven't tried Food Wars out, I do recommend it if you like that kind of stuff. I would say it's kind of like Chopped or Cutthroat Kitchen, like those shows from the Food Network, just in an ongoing manga format. And if you're like me and you like watching those shows, because they are a ton of fun to watch, then you'll definitely enjoy Food Wars. Just keep in mind it is rated for older teens, because there is a little bit of content in there that's a little more mature. I wouldn't recommend it for people that are younger than the age of about 16 or so, but it is at the discretion of your parents or guardians, of course. So let's see what we got next out of this snack box. So pull out the coronita. So these are some sandwich cookies. So some more cookies here. And looking at my guide here, these are chocolate sandwich cookies, similar to, it says morochas, which I'm not familiar with. And they're considered two of the most popular cookies in Peru. So that sounds pretty promising. It looks basically like the Oreos, where they have the chocolate inside with the vanilla cookies. They're smaller though than the Oreos, so it looks pretty good. So the chocolate flavor doesn't come out too strong at first in this one. It's kind of like the two vanilla cookies are a lot stronger, and then as you work through those vanilla cookies, the chocolate taste begins to come out, and it leaves a really pleasant chocolatey aftertaste. These, at first, when I was eating it, it was similar to cookies. I don't remember what brand it was that my grandmother used to buy at like Fiesta at the supermarket. And they were, sandwich cookies and stuff, but they weren't like the Nabisco Oreo brand and stuff like that. Similar taste to that, but then when you get to the chocolate filling, it has a really tasty chocolate filling. I kind of want to grab another one and just try the filling itself, because I really like the taste of that chocolate filling. But let's move on to the next manga series. So this next one is not just focused on food. It's not 100% of a food manga. It's barely a food manga, but it has one of the most prominent and recognizable chefs in all of manga. And of course I'm talking about One Piece, and the character I'm talking about is Sanji. Sanji is one of most people's top 3 characters in the series. Definitely one of mine, up there with Luffy and Zoro as some of the best protagonists in this title. And I love Sanji because whereas all these other characters are so heavily dependent on like devil fruit abilities, Sanji is one of those, like Zoro, who doesn't have a devil fruit, yet still has so much strength to himself. And I really love that, because I hate when a series gets bogged down to the point where, like, if every character does not have that same, type of ability as the main character does and the main villains and stuff do, then they kind of get left in the dust. And that happens in a lot of series like Bleach or, Dragon Ball Z, where the characters who are not Soul Reapers or the characters who are not Saiyans get left behind. But in One Piece, I feel like Oda does a great job of not letting that happen. Now, Sanji is the chef of the Straw Hat Pirates crew, and I absolutely love the arc where he's introduced. The villain they fight in that arc, Don Krieg, is a fantastic villain, and it's just a lot of fun. He's a great character as well, and one of the reasons I really wanted to mention this book in particular mentions Sanji and One Piece is because they do have a One Piece cookbook that's going to be coming out in the near future. So as opposed to Food Wars, where One Piece is set in more of a fantasy type world and the dishes that Sanji prepares are not exactly grounded, they're going to be giving recipes for things that you can make in the real world that are going to be similar to some stuff that Sanji has or may have made in the series, whether we've seen it on screen or on panel or not. And I think that's really awesome. I really like when the publishers market a series by using other things outside of just the manga or light novels and stuff like that. And I think that using the character like Sanji and giving us a cookbook of his recipes and stuff is a really great way to allow for readers to get attached to these characters in a new way. Also notable, there are Food Wars One Piece crossover chapters. There are 4 of those chapters so far, which focus primarily on Sanji and his cooking and stuff. So if you are like me and you are a big fan of Sanji, definitely check out those chapters. They are available on the Shonen Jump app. All right, let's try another snack here. I'm gonna pick out chokman. I'm sure that's pronounced chokman. So chokman by Costa, delicious sponge cake with manjar, which is dulce de leche. That's the filling, and then chocolate flavor coating. I really love manjar, so I'm probably going to enjoy the heck out of this one. This one feels like it's a big solid bar, so I'm just going to take one bite out of it and see how this one goes. The sponge cake is nice and soft, so it's a good juxtaposition over the crackers, like the harder cookies that I've been eating. The manjar flavor does not come through terribly strong. The chocolate is nice and sweet. It's an all-around good piece. If you've ever tried like the snack cakes that Bimbo makes, then you'd probably know exactly what to expect from this. But I haven't had a Bimbo snack cake that has manjar in it, so that's something that's a little bit new. All right, let's move on to another series that I absolutely love, and I actually did a review of this one early last year, and that's Delicious in Dungeon. So this series is published by Yen Press. It currently has 9 volumes out, and it is ongoing in Japan. The series basically follows the main character, Laios, who's this dude on the cover, as he's going through a dungeon trying to search for a dragon so he can rescue his sister. The dragon had eaten his sister, and he's going there to try and rescue her. So it's kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons type vibe thing where he forms a crew, he goes into this dungeon, and they're traveling down into the dungeon to find this monster. And along the way, they meet a new character who kind of helps them to survive in this dungeon because they may have not thought too much about the food aspect of having to have food and meals and stuff to eat while you're traversing and traveling into this dungeon. So throughout the series, we see, and you can see on the back, they show some of the different monsters and stuff that appear throughout the series. But throughout the series, basically they learn that the monsters that they fight and they kill, they can harvest for food. And so this one, again, as opposed to the real world setting of Food Wars, this one is very fantastical in its elements, in that it introduces like using things like basilisk and mandrakes, walking mushrooms, just looking at a few things that are on the back of this cover. My favorite one from early in the series is fighting against living armors and finding out that the living armors are actually basically mollusks and pulling the meat out from between the layers of the living armor and using that to eat. It's really fascinating because the suspension of disbelief is so expertly done to where you don't, well, at least when I was reading it, I didn't question the fact that these things are not real. But I'm seeing these people like killing this animal and using the pieces to create this food, and it might be some sort of vegetable or something that is grown in the dungeon as well that they're using, and they do it in such a realistic way that like I'm almost sitting there thinking like, oh man, that looks really good. And they provide recipes for these fake foods, for these fake dishes that are created, these fictional dishes I should say, which is really fun because you could read those recipes and imagine how like, okay, well, living armor is not a real thing, but I could use the meat from a clam or a mussel or something like that in its place and make a similar dish to what they've made in the series. The series is really great, not just the food aspect of it, but there's a lot of great kind of originality and really imaginative creatures that appear throughout this series, and I love the way that the characters have developed throughout the series. You meet a lot of new characters that join the crew as you go along, and there are some really fun twists and turns. Whether you like food-related manga or not, this is definitely a series that I highly recommend. Alright, so let's see what we got now. We've got the Casino Sabor Lucuma. So let's see what this one has. So these are crunchy Peruvian cookies with the unique flavor of lucuma fruit, a superfruit that is indigenous to Peru, known as gold of the Incas and valued for the fruit's healing properties. So I've never heard of that fruit before. I've never tried that fruit, but let's see what this cookie with that fruit tastes like. They're smaller cookies. They're much smaller than the ones that I've had. That's good. I do not know how to describe the taste of that filling. It's not a tangy fruit. It's a more of a mellow fruit. It doesn't really taste like a banana, but kind of in that group. Whereas, like, as opposed to berries and stuff or citrus fruits, it doesn't have that kind of tart, tangy flavor. It's a much more smooth flavor, which I really enjoy. I was worried trying it that it was going to be like a fruit that I was not going to like at all, but I'm pleasantly surprised with that one. So let's see what the next manga I've got here, and oh, it is Silver Spoon by Hiromu Arakawa. So of course most people are going to recognize Arakawa's name from her work on Fullmetal Alchemist, which is one of my favorite completed manga of all time. It's a fantastic series. Now after Fullmetal Alchemist, Arakawa went on to work on a new series titled Silver Spoon. And the series follows a young man named Hachiken who basically doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life, and he enrolls in an agricultural school because he thinks that it's going to be easier for him to get through school and make good grades and stuff if he goes to a school that's focused on raising livestock and stuff like that. And when he enrolls, he soon finds that he's terribly wrong, and he winds up having to really struggle to keep up with the rest of the students in his class, a lot of whom were raised in agricultural families and stuff. But as Hachiken goes through, he makes a lot of relationships and meets a lot of people he becomes good friends with, and he starts to really care about learning how to, be an agricultural student and succeed with these things, and learning how to raise livestock, run a farm, and harvest food from plants, vegetables, fruits, as well as harvesting milk and eggs and stuff, and making various meats to be sold and eaten. And throughout the series, we see these students making their own fresh cheese, making pizza out of ingredients that they cultivated themselves. And it's really fun to see the evolution of these characters, these people, especially Hachiken, as he becomes such a different character from the beginning of the series through the end. This one's also from Yen Press, and it is 15 volumes long. The entirety of the series is available. It is a very different tone to Fullmetal Alchemist, without doubt, but it is a very good series regardless. So if you want something that's kind of a more relaxing title, it's something that's not action-packed, not fantasy type stuff. This one's very grounded, almost a slice of life type series, like teetering into being slice of life. I really enjoy it. It is such a well-written and very sweet series, and I loved seeing Hachiken evolve as a character throughout. Alright, so I've tried a lot of different cookies and stuff, and it looks like this one is a chocolate bar, so I'm going to try this one next. This is Sublime by Nestle. I know Nestle. Richly flavored chocolate filled with crushed peanuts. Okay, I do like peanuts. So chocolate is meant to be balanced against the saltiness of the peanuts. So let's try this one out. That might be my favorite thing I've tried. So it's so simple. It's basically Mr. Good Bar. It's a chocolate bar with peanuts, but the chocolate is better than the chocolate in the Mr. Good Bar, and I don't know if that's because it's from Peru and they have higher quality chocolate than we do in the US, but it's such a simple piece. Chocolate and peanuts. But it's so good. So good. All right, the next manga that I'm going to talk about is another one that I actually did a review on my channel around this time last year. I read the first volume, and I'm really excited because the publisher just recently sent me the next 6 volumes so I can do another review and talk about volumes 1 through 7 of Otherworldly Izakaya Nobu. Now this one, much like Silver Spoon, is more grounded in reality, and it's more of a kind of low-key, relaxing series. Like, honestly, reading the first volume of this series was a very relaxing, very relieving experience. I read it after some long work days, and coming home and just laying down and reading this book really put me to rest, and I really loved it. It is grounded in reality in that all the dishes and stuff are realistic dishes that you could find at restaurants and prepare yourself. However, it does have a bit of a supernatural twist to it, that this place, this izakaya nobu, this restaurant that serves Japanese food, seems to appear out of nowhere. And I've only read the first volume so far, and I'm very excited to read the next several volumes to get caught up and do this new review of the series. But from what you see on the first volume, it does seem like there's some weird, maybe magic going on with this place, in that it doesn't always exist for patrons to see it, but all of a sudden it will appear. And we see, like, the employees, when they leave, it doesn't, the door doesn't always lead to the same place. It doesn't always open up to let out to the same street that someone came in on. So you get different types of people that come in there. And I really loved just the relaxing vibe that this series had. Like I said, it helped me to chill out and relax after a hard day of work. And what I really love about it is you get a really great sense of the love for food that these characters have, and I think that comes through from the author writing these characters this way, where you can see the way that they react and describe the foods. It makes it almost like you can taste these things yourself, and it's a really interesting thing. Like, you see them reacting to things as simple as drinking a beer or eating, I believe, edamame at one point in here. And the reaction that they have is so visceral that, like, I could imagine that I was sitting there drinking a beer and eating edamame next to them myself. So I highly recommend this series if any of that sounds good to you. If the idea of a very relaxing food-related series sounds good to you, then definitely check it out, and definitely look forward to my review of the first 7 volumes of the series. I'll try and get that out sometime in the near future. All right, let's try another one of these. We have the guaca, which has a little duck on there, and this is a wafer biscuits coated with chocolate, so love chocolate. Represented by its cute duck mascot. Guacuas are a household name and one of the most beloved wafers in Peru. So I feel like I know what to expect from this one, but no doubt, I'm sure it's going to be very tasty. If you've had chocolate-covered wafers before, very much what you would expect is what you get from here. Very simple, very effective. It's a tasty snack. And then I have one more manga here to talk about, and that is Golden Kamui. Now, Golden Kamui is not exactly a food-focused manga, but if you've read the series, you know exactly why I would bring it up when talking about food-focused manga. Because Golden Kamuy kind of has a little bit of everything in it. It's action, adventure, it's got violence, it's got intrigue, it's got drama, but it also has a lot about the different cultures and stuff in Japan, specifically the Ainu culture, and we get to explore a lot of what they eat through the characters that are there, as we see the characters in this series traveling through the wilderness and oftentimes needing to hunt and gather and forage to have food. And with their kind of Ainu guide, this young girl named Serpa, she teaches them a lot about their culture, and she winds up preparing a lot of different foods. And a big memorable piece about this series is always seeing these characters try these new foods that they may at first think are kind of gross, they may not want to try at all, but then ultimately usually really enjoying them. I really love that because it is a series that's very much not like a food series, but then all of a sudden it throws that at you and it works so well because you'll be going through an arc where it's just a bunch of action or them getting out of a situation where they're escaping from some sort of antagonist, and then they sit down for a calm evening where they're having dinner, and it takes a few pages to let you appreciate what this food is that's being prepared. And seeing this nice look at exactly how people from this culture, from the Ainu culture, prepare their food and what they eat and stuff. It's very well done, which I just have to like say, for a series that is not at all food focused, the food focused parts are extremely well crafted, and I really appreciate it for that. Also, Golden Kamuy is one of my favorite ongoing manga series right now, and it has been for a little while. It's such a fantastic series, and I know that it's supposed to be wrapping up soon, so if you haven't jumped on Golden Kamuy yet, I highly recommend doing so, whether because you want to read a food manga, or you want to read anything that's just plain old great manga. This is one of the best seinen titles, great historical fiction. So let's try something else. Let's try the Doña Pepa. So Doña Pepa is another little bar. It's a cookie coated in chocolate with chocolate sprinkles. Another very traditional cookie is what it says on here. Created in the 18th century for the annual Lord of Miracles ceremony in Peru. All right, so there's 2 cookies in here, and their sprinkles are rainbow sprinkles. Not bad. Nothing terribly special about that one. The sprinkles just add a little bit of extra crunch, which is nice. But there's nothing, as far as the flavor goes, that really sets that one aside from anything else. But it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. It's, you know, it's cookie, chocolate, and sprinkles. All right, now let's see what's manga I got on the stack next for food-related series. And it looks like we've got the Promised Neverland. I'm gonna go ahead and skip past that one. Let's try one of the other snacks really quick before we move forward. And I'm gonna try one a little bit different. This one says galletas de soda, which I'm assuming means soda crackers. So I'm gonna guess that this one's not sweet, that this one's gonna be more of a salty snack. And it looks basically like a saltine. So basically like a saltine. The one I grabbed crumbled on me a little bit in the package. A little bit bigger than a saltine though, and not as salty than that brand's crackers. Okay, now moving on to something else. We're going to go in a little bit of a different direction for these last 2 books, because we're actually going to talk about some Western comics, some non-manga graphic novels. And first, from Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, we have Seconds. Now, Seconds was one of O'Malley's first, I believe it was his first work after finishing the last volume of Scott Pilgrim. So it came out several years ago, and it's a single volume graphic novel. It's not an ongoing series like Scott Pilgrim or his later series Snot Girl that's still ongoing is. This is all contained in a single volume. It is a full-color graphic novel, which is different as opposed to Scott Pilgrim, which was originally printed all in black and white, though you can get the series in full color now. Actually, does this have colors by the same... Now I'm curious if this has colors by Nathan Fairbairn. Yeah, it does. So it's the same color artist. Nathan Fairbairn did the colors on this one, who also did the colors on the color editions of Scott Pilgrim. So the series focuses on Katie, who's a young girl who owns a pretty successful restaurant. And one day she wakes up and there's this little person sitting up on her chest of drawers. And basically, she finds this note that tells her to write down a mistake, ingest 1 mushroom, go to sleep, and then wake anew. So basically, if she writes down something wrong, something that, you know, is an issue for her, and she eats one of these magical mushrooms, not that kind of magical mushroom, then when she wakes up, that thing is gone. And she opens the drawer and finds that it's full of these mushrooms, and so she decides to kind of take advantage of this and go against what she's supposed to do and try and not just have a better life by getting rid of like one of her issues, but she tries to have a perfect life by constantly every night ingesting another one of these mushrooms and correcting something until her life is absolutely what she wants it to be. So as you would expect with any sort of story like that, there's going to be some issues that happen, and there is some drama that Katie has to go through before realizing maybe her life was not so bad to begin with. So it is a food-related series in a couple of ways. Number one, in that Katie does own a restaurant. We get to see her at the restaurant working with her staff and stuff, but also because the entire crux of the story here is based around these magical little mushrooms that allow Katie to recreate her life to become the so-called perfect life that she believes that she wants. All right, so let's get another snack here, and I've got the picaras chocolate. So these look like chocolate or cookie wheels covered with some chocolate. All right, so here we are. These are chocolate galletas by picaras. They're ring-shaped Peruvian cookies that are partially coated. They're coated on the bottom and part of the top with chocolate and filled with chocolate cream. Okay, I didn't notice that they had anything inside them. So I don't see any of the filling. However, the cookie has a very distinctly different flavor from any of the other cookies. The chocolate is chocolate, it's good chocolate, but the cookie, rather than being a typical like vanilla or butter cookie, has kind of a, I want to say a coconut type flavor to it, which if you're a fan of that type of thing, which I didn't used to be, but I've grown into enjoying like coconut flavored cookies and stuff. If you're a fan of that, this is a really good one. I think it's coconut. I want to say it is because that's what it tastes like to me, but I could be wrong. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is a really great comic series from Image Comics, and that is Chew by John Layman and Rob Guillory. Chew is a fantastic series. It lasted for 60 issues, had several different spin-off issues and stuff, and it's actually spawned a sequel series named Chew, spelt C-H-U. The series focuses on Tony Chew, who is a member of the FDA, working as an agent basically solving food-related crimes. So in the world of Chew, people have weird food-related powers. There are many different characters that are introduced throughout the series that have many different food-related abilities, and Tony Chew is what's called a cebopath, which means that when he eats something, anything, regardless of what it is, whether it's an actual food item or not, aside from beets are the only things that he can eat that doesn't give him this effect. He can see the entire history of that item. So if he eats an apple, then he'll see where it was grown, the type of pesticides that may have been used on it, when it was harvested and all that stuff. If he eats a hamburger, then he would see where the cow was raised, when it was turned into meat, as it was packaged, and he can see when it was prepared and all that stuff. Now, if he uses his cebopath ability to bite someone's severed finger that they might find, for instance, as we see on the cover here, then he would get to see everything about the history of that person and maybe see who was the one who removed that finger, if not the person who murdered the victim there. The series does evolve forward. It goes into a lot of different places. This is just a very, very basic pitch about what the series is about and what you can expect. But we have a lot of different food-powered people who appear throughout the title who have different powers. Like one guy is able to make weapons out of chocolate. There's one lady who can write about food so detailed that you can taste it as you read her reviews and stuff. So we have all kinds of different characters who have all kinds of different food-related abilities. And it's very kind of grotesque at times in the way that it is. Like me describing him chewing on someone's severed finger obviously should give you the idea that it is a little bit of a grotesque series. But it also has a fantastic sense of humor throughout. Rob Guillory is an artist that puts a ton of detail into the background of his work, and oftentimes it's his little details that he adds into his work that really adds the humor, that gives it a little bit of an extra layer of content beyond just the ongoing narrative of the story. It's fun to kind of pick out the little jokes and stuff that he puts in the background. Layman has a great sense of humor as well. It's not all on Guillory, but he has a great sense of humor with these characters as well. And while Layman is a good writer, I want to say without a doubt that Chew is his best work. If you've read Chew and you've enjoyed it, I would also recommend trying out Rob Guillory's other series that he did. He wrote and drew after this one, titled Farmhand. And it is also a food-related series. It has all of Guillory's signature humor to it, but also I would say it could be really easily mistaken for being also written by John Layman, because there's so much in common with the way that that series is written. It's a really great one. I highly recommend it. It's not nearly as long. I think it probably has 3 or 4 volumes, as opposed to Chew, which has 12 paperback volumes and 6 of these oversized hardcover volumes. There's also a 3 volume. I think these are the omnivore editions, but there's also the smorgasbord editions, which are 3 even larger hardcovers that collect the entirety of the 60-issue series. So highly recommend the series either way. Also definitely recommend Farmhand if you enjoyed this one and want something a little bit further. Now we've got one more snack to try out and we wrap up this video, and that is morochas. So these are another one from Nestle, and I actually thought that there was 2 cookies here, but they actually have 4 cookies connected by layers of chocolate. So yes, 2 sandwich cookies sandwiching a chocolate center. They are one of the most popular treats in Peru, so this is a substantial little treat. The cookies on that one have more of a toastiness to them than the other more sweet cookies that I had, basically every other cookie. So it does have a slightly different taste than a lot of the ones that I had tried, but it's not going to be for everyone. The crackers that they use, or the cookies that they use, are a lot more thin. They're not as buttery flavored. Like I said, it's more of a toasty flavor, so it's definitely a little bit different. Chocolate's still there, present and good, but there is that it's 4 of these thin cookies layered together. You're going to get a lot more of that cookie than you are going to get the chocolate, as opposed to a lot of the other ones that I have tried. So that's it. That is the Peruvian snack box that I was sent by Treat. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I hope that if you watched this video, you had a good time watching, and maybe you would like to subscribe to get a treat box yourself so you can try some stuff from around the world, try some treats from other countries and stuff like I did today. It was a lot of fun. I love doing that type of stuff. I love trying different snacks, and I said that earlier in the video, but I really do. I really love this kind of thing. And I was so happy to have them reach out to me and ask me if I would like to do this, because it's kind of a dream. It's really a dream to have someone send me free food that I can talk about on the internet, even though I'm not a food-related channel. And I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.